This is journalist Angles. In case you're just joining us, there is fire on the Halo Temple of Justice, and it seems nobody's running. In a first of its kind protest letter in the 58-year history of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the justices chronicled the operational challenges and poor welfare that have almost crippled efficient adjudication of cases in the apex courts. The aggrieved justices, led by the second most senior justice of the Supreme Court, Olukayode Ariwola, listed the issues to include vehicles, electricity tariff, supply of diesel, internet services to their residents and chambers, and the epileptic power supply to the courts. But the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mahammad, has responded to the protest letter sent by 14 justices. In a statement issued by its spokesperson, Justice Mahammad addressed the wide-ranging issues and stressed that judges are to be seen, not to be heard. Don't you think this is hypocritical on behalf, as in on the part of the CJN? Because what Justice Ariwola and 12 others, what they are just stating is the obvious. What is, bedeviling the country as a whole right now?
I think what the CJN should have done in this wise was to take responsibility. In his statement, he made some, he said some profound truths, like you have just said now. It's just the problem of the country. For instance, look at the issue of diesel. The CJN is talking about a budget that was premised on 300 naira per liter of diesel.
Wow.
Diesel, as we speak, though he said in his own statement that diesel is now 700 naira, but it's hovering around 1,000 a liter.
Wow.
So how do you make a budget of 300 naira?
Even broadcast stations now, they are not shutting down.
Yeah.
By 11, 12.
How do you make a budget of 300
hours now? They can't afford it.
How do you make a budget of 300 naira and you are spending 700 naira on that same thing, 1 liter?
So power must, power will be unavailable sometimes in the courts.
It's just obvious that we are generally in this country in a critical situation. Because if men at that level, if the justices, if their lordships at that level are complaining,
vehicles,
you can imagine
electricity tariff, supply of diesel, internet services,
in fact,
to the residents and chambers.
The only area where I see that they raised something very personal with the CJN was about his traveling with his family and the issue of their training. Where, let me quote them. They said, we demand to know what has become of our training funds. Have they been diverted, or is it a plain denial? Your Lordship may remember that the National Assembly has increased budgetary allocation to the judiciary. We find it strange that in spite of the upward review of our budgetary allocation, the courts cannot cater for our legitimate entitlements. The question is, that budget, is it being funded? Because we see what happens in the ministries.
Was it remitted?
It is what is available that you work with. So, from all that they have said, it shows us something, and clearly too, that like we, the masses, will say, the rich also cry.
Dada?
Well, I feel that there is a breakdown in communication between the judges and the CJN. Now, if these are the issues, you talk about the cost of, high cost of diesel and all of that.
And epileptic power supply.
Was this sufficiently communicated to these judges? 14 judges. The petition was led by the second most senior justice, who should be very close to the CJN. I expect that he's even the one that should be talking to his colleagues.
Because exactly. He's talking
to his colleagues on behalf of the CJN that this is actually the problem.
If he's not, if the CJN retires today,
exactly. Exactly. They said that this thing was discussed in March. They complained. The issue of accommodation. How long does it take for accommodation to be provided for judges who don't have it? Why are they not being accommodated yet? Why are we just hearing it now? Why all these excuses. Then the issue of the training, the fact that these people cannot go with their research assistant. This whereas the CJN, as alleged, goes with his family, is a very critical issue. The answers were not given. The answers to that were not given in the CJN's response to the petition. So I feel that there is something is the relationship between the CJN and these judges is opaque. There is a lack of transparency somewhere. I don't know where to cast the blame, but I think it's going to be interesting. We have not heard the last of this matter. I remember also they said that if these things are not addressed, they will take it up. They will take it up.
The threat.
Okay, Jude, do you agree with Justice Mohammed, you know, that judges are to be seen and not to be heard?
Well, as seemingly harmless as the goat is, when you push the goat to the wall, the goat fights back. By tradition, they are not supposed to be heard. It's unheard of that judges will protest publicly, judges will embark on industrial action, but they are human beings and they must have felt that they had suffered in silence enough. Some of the arguments that the CJN's aides came up with are untenable. In fact, some of those arguments make no sense. If you are saying that, you see, the judiciary is an independent arm of government. If you are talking about the fact that, yes, diesel is expensive now, this and that, do they set a time limit for them in Aso Rock, for example? Do they tell them that once it's 4 o'clock, people should close their offices and go home, that they can't work because there will be no diesel to power the engines?
Because it's an independent tier of government.
Their own argument, his argument is that it's not as if those things were not being done, but that they had not done enough. So by even admitting that you had not done enough, it means that the judges were right to protest.
Exactly.
And don't forget, it wasn't as if they even publicly protested. It just happened that the memo leaked. So the memo leaked, that's why you and I are aware of the rot that is going on. If so much money is allocated to the judiciary to take care of certain welfare needs, and those judges are not being taken care of, some of them are riding rickety cars, some of them, they bought bad vehicles for them. Look at that memo, I mean the response to the judges is actually saying that, oh, those who bought bad vehicles, they need to challenge them. They need to query them. Why did the system even allow that to happen in the first place? That judges won't get the kind of vehicles that they need. The truth is, judges are not well paid in our country. That concern had been there. That concern had been there. And if you are not paying judges good wages, if you are not paying them the kind of money that some civil servants earn, in fact, I've been told that there are some people heading some federal government agencies who earn 10 times the salary of a judge. 10 times the salary of a Supreme Court judge. Somebody working for the same federal government, earning 10 times what a Supreme Court judge earns. I mean, it makes no sense. Whatever it is that these people deserve by way of their welfare, it has to be provided. The judiciary is not subservient to the executive.
At all.
As a result, the CJN must push hard that, look, what should come to us, so that he can effectively take good care of his colleagues. Because he can be embarrassed. He's saying that they should be heard, not seen. If those judges decide that they are not going to sit They are not going to hear cases. Will Justice Tanko go and hear cases all by himself? Can he do it alone? So he has to address those concerns instead of coming up with this kind of press statement that does not address fundamentally the issues that these guys, these judges have raised. It's unheard of for them to complain. But for them to have complained, it must be that the issue had reached this point. And once the issue gets to this point, it's a matter of survival. You don't expect judges to go and be doing contracts. Many people do contracts in our country, go up and down to make extra money. By their position, they should not do that. You must provide all that they need. And I want to believe that the executive has to also look into this issue. All the stakeholders must come together and address the issue of poor pay for judges and as well as their poor welfare. Once this is addressed, there will be no need for this complaint.
Doctor, I think in summary, something is wrong with the leadership of Justice Tanko, because
that's
he's
what
able to carry his colleague.
That's what the leaked memo shows very clearly. That's what it shows, because, like you said, and which BQ also repeated, if the judges or the justices all know what is going on with the state of finance of the Supreme Court, this wouldn't have come up. These things should be plain. This month, we were expecting 5 naira. But the funding, based on the earnings of Nigeria, has allowed only 3 naira to be released.
You carry your people along.
You carry them along. It is one of the things that I said I loved about some governors. One of them being ex-governor, Rauf Aregbesola. When it got to the point where there was so much problem with the civil service, he set up a joint committee. All of you come.
Labor. And anytime the allocation comes.
When the allocation comes, come and see. This is it. What do we do with the money?
Yeah.
It's transparency, because if these 14 justices, if they know that this is what we have, then we wouldn't have gotten to this point.
Well, I think the CJN, rather than defend himself in a press release, should sit down with these judges and address them. Particularly, he has to talk about what happened to the funds.
Training funds.
Training funds released. He has to talk about that. He has to convince them.
What is good for the goose?
It's good for the Ghana.